as James Bond finally met his match, that being, in '85, A View to a Kill. Roger Moore's last outing is James Bond, and at the time you could see why. Roger Moore was practically almost pushing 60 at the time, and yeah, some people say age is a number, and I feel the same way, but to be honest, Roger Moore was. But I don't think he looked as bad as people made him out. He did look. He did have an operation at the time. If you ever remember Roger Moore, he had a bit of a birthmark on the side of his cheek. It was removed. I thought he looked pretty good, you know what I mean? Apart from having a bit of a double chin like I'm getting as I'm getting older, he still looked pretty fucking good. And I do love the bit where he's on the ski soap and he's riding about. Some people take the mick that he's got the Beach Boys song, you know. But I liked it, you know, it's your typical Roger Moore humour. What was sort of that era in '84. A funny thing is, you get a beautiful girl with blonde hair. You might remember being in House. That's right, House. The original House, what I reviewed. The beautiful next door neighbour. That was her. Who also had a little small appearance in Octopus. She played a different role in this. And let's not forget the iconic song, View to a Kill, sung by the popular boy band of the 80s, that being Duran Duran, which is a really popular song in the UK, but as we all know, it was a #1 in America, that being Duran Duran, A View to a Kill. Originally, the film was going to be called From A View to a Kill, which explains when you see the ending of Octopus, the famous, they usually tell you the name of every Bond film. But as 2 years went on, decided to re-alter it, just called it A View to a Kill, which I like that title. But the negative part is, I would have to say this is average to most in Roger Moore. So like For Your Eyes Only, it had loads and loads of action. Octopussy, what felt like an adventure, and his ones even before that. View to a Kill just felt, the action was just there, it was just average, you know what I mean? It was average. But I do like the Bond villain. I think Christopher Walken plays a really good role, you know, he's upper class, he's smart, he's intelligent, but he's psychotic. And a bit of interesting history there. There's a thing called the microchip, which was a well-known chip company what did sell microchips. So the real scene where they got it, dipped it on fire, there was a real place called that, which if you've ever seen the opening of View to a Kill, it actually mentions that. It mentions that there was a real place called Citizens Fire. Another bit of history I like about it is, it does have a similarity to Goldfinger. Everyone remembers Goldfinger, the guy that wants to destroy the bank to make his gold. That had a similar story. He wanted to blow up the place so he can have his chips. And let's not forget Days Jones. This would have been a third outing. One vampire movie, what could be worth talking about is Fab, what come out the same day. And one day before he did this, he appeared with Arnold Schwarzenegger in Job the Destroyer. And I like it in this because it's sort of like a female version of Jaws and most of the other ones. Who Roger Moore probably had the looks of jumping into bed with. Once I say it had the looks of it, but yeah. But yeah, I like View to a Kill, you know. It's just average. I feel the action was average. It's just more of a straightforward thriller. But in all fairness, Dr. No and From Russia With Love was a straightforward thriller. So there's no harm in that. And again, you got the date song by Duran Duran, View to a Kill. So yeah, you know, the scene where Bond gets arrested, which I do believe there's a deleted scene there where he has a lighter. It's kind of reminds me of the lighter that would be later used in License to Kill. A few deleted scenes here and there on the way, but it's still not a bad one for Roger Moore's last outing. It's not a bad one. You know, there's just little bits here and there. You can see now he's long beyond the truth. You know what I mean? He's like in his late 50s when he did this Bond. He does meet one girl. He's a secret agent who, you know, he ends up shagging her. Quite nice to look at, and he's in a tattoos there. And I do remember, I always feel it would have been better if you had the Bond girl, you know, the one who was in The Spy Who Loves Me. You know, the one who's going to shoot Bond, and at the end she has a change of heart, and you know they end up shagging. I've always thought it would have been more better had it would have been her pricing that role with just one little scene, or maybe, I don't know, let me think. You know, the Bonder in Man with the Golden Gun, maybe her, or the one in Spy Who Loves Me, you know, an agent like that. But you know, it is what it is. I do like her. It's too tight nice to look at. You can definitely say that this was one of the getting to the little bits of defiance in this, or the scene with Christopher Walken shooting everybody and the inner mind thing. You can definitely see at this point why it was getting a little bit too violent, and why Roger Moore was a bit, because Roger Moore, believe it or not, over the days was not because it was his last role as Bond, but he was a bit, because he felt it was going too violent. But when you get to License to Kill, that's when it does get fucking violent. I don't feel it has as much as Roger Moore's humour in it, you know, like he did in Octopussy and the other ones, but at this point, I didn't think it needed that much humour. It was just a straightforward story. He was going after people. He was basically Christopher Walken, Jace Jones. He was basically using tips to make his own fucking team, basically, his own team. And I do like the Bonder in it. You might remember who played Beastmaster, and in the later series, was in Charlie's Angels. Quite nice to look at, beautiful eyes and everything, but in all fairness, it was a bit disser. She was like, kill me dog. Shut up. Yeah. You know, she was a bit disser. She was one of them that if you wanted easy lay, that would be her. Like the Bonder in Octopus there, and Bonder in For Your Eyes Only, and even the one in The Spy Who Loves Me. Even Moonmaker, she could kick ass a bit. But, you know, take her or leave her, it was okay. Just bear with me 1 minute. Sorry about that, my fucking dog would shut up. But yeah, you know, you could take her or leave her, it was alright, nice to look at. Both in that era, so it was a Dudley. But yeah, you know, he gets in this big mind, and you've also got one Chinese guy. You might remember him being in a lot of films. He was also in the Temple of Doom. You see when he got shot, and he said, "We have had adventures, Indy," and then he dies. Dies in this and all. And I do remember the guy in it who helps Bond. You might remember it played in The Offenders, and The Return of the Offenders. May he rest in peace. He helps him out and also gets killed by Jace Jones. Jace Jones doesn't fuck around in this, but when you think about it, kind of like Jaws, he just turned the other way when you realise that Christopher Walken was using her. She self-sacrifices herself to destroy the bomb. Bond gets the better of Christopher Walken, and he falls to his doom. Ends with Bond shagging the Bonder. End of the Bond film, and end of Roger Moore's role as Bond. It's not a bad thing for Roger Moore's last outing. There's bits where I would have been curious what would have happened had he would have done The Living Daylights, or had he would have tied on in License to Kill, but at that point you can definitely see him getting a little bit older for the role. You know, for that role, you know, a young guy who beautiful women want to jump into bed with him, and he's a ladies' man and all this. For a certain age, it just looks like a dirty old man wanting to shag a girl long enough to be his fucking granddaughter. But it's still not bad. I do think, you know, some younger women go for the older man. Look at me. A lot of young women go for me. I can't help it. I'm a stud. But yeah, you know, View to a Kill, sang by Duran Duran. Bid it in its day. Acting I felt was a bit average, but for a thriller, it's not bad for your time. Check it out. Into them. See you later.